All right, guys, meeting's officially starting 4:30. Um, Technically this would be like e-board and site rep meeting, even though our membership meeting will be falling in the time of our Thanksgiving break. So some of the items that we'll be discussing tonight is um our negotiations letter we're going to be sending out to Green Dot in December. Um, Talk a little bit about what's happening on all the campuses for discipline, the types of discipline, the tactics that the administrators or leaders are using that members are getting caught up on the most. And then possibly talking about there's 3 conferences coming up. There's leadership conference, and that's 2 meeting commitment. One in the Los Angeles area, the other one in Burlingame, California. The Issues Conference, which is in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then the Good Teaching Conference South will be in Garden Grove. That's new employees, classified. That's mostly where a lot of the classified get together, is at the new Teachers Conference in Garden Grove. So something to think about. I really like to send the team to the leadership conference. One half will be at the Bonaventure, and then the other half will be in Burlingame. But just it's so many tools and tips and tricks that you get exposed to, and teamwork that you get exposed to, and it also kind of enlightens you on the bargaining process and how it's played out, depending on if they want to play hardball or if it's a friendly negotiation. The last week we met online, most people were asking about we talked about the Wayne Garden rights. We reminded them of what our job is as reps, and what the union really does, and not really all the HR items that they think we are held responsible for, that we're accountable for. We're not accountable for payroll. We just happen to have so much experience dealing with payroll. We can answer some of the questions. Sometimes we are able to get them to the right person, but that doesn't mean that's our job. Like human resources or human capital includes them enrolling into the proper department for their medical, for their, that means I need to have their social security number. That's not what we do as union reps. We literally cover, protect, and support employees, whether they be in a position where they're about to be disciplined in a meeting, in a position where they're about to have a conversation with someone that's a supervisor or a leader in the organization, and we protect them and the contract. Like, that's literally what you're supposed to be doing. We just have more experience in helping them in other areas, which is why for so long we've been able to work the handbook together, work the along. Do you want to say hi? You want to say hi? Okay. Um, we've been able to use the handbook and the contract hand in hand and help employees in getting through some serious situations, getting through some uncomfortable situations, helping them understand where, if they did violate the contract, or if the school violated the contract, where it was, and how we were able to move forward without a discipline being put on them or in their file. So that's kind of the bigger picture. This year, a lot of people have been dealing with either in Article 11 unprofessionality, whether it be interacting with their peers or interacting with leaders, and whether it be using the use of profanity, or them using language that was deemed unprofessional or getting angry with their leader or their coworkers and it coming across in a very aggressive way. That's been some of the stuff we've been dealing with. The situations I've been dealing with for, I say, the last 3 weeks all had to do with attendance, clocking in and out, overtime, overtime that's not approved. If their subordinate or supervisor asks them to do something in a specific order and they didn't do it in that order. So that would be like, I have facilities people that have to do things in order because the money comes in a certain way, or it's set up where another vendor needs to come in and help with something. So those things might have to be in order. When it's testing time for us, any of us that are in the classroom, then we're dealing with things in order, right? You know, maybe George's team in the office is pulling all the testing material, but then we as paraprofessionals have to be in the right classes at the right time. If it's a time test, we just got to be in certain places. And unfortunately, everyone doesn't understand how we maneuver with SPED kids. You might be assigned 3 classes or assigned so many classes, but your kid moves around to another class and that's when he's free or that's when she's free and you try to test them in between then. That can it gets kind of hairy because the supervisor or the leader doesn't know that's where you are at. So it looks like you're not doing your job. Or it looks like you're not where you're supposed to be when they want to observe you. So we're kind of running into possibly having to get some things cleared up campus to campus with the paraprofessionals because it looks or appears that we're not where we're supposed to be. And that might not even be the case. Even though we have some people that do stuff that ain't got no business doing. That isn't necessarily the case. You know, you might be thinking you need 15 minutes with a kid. It turns into an hour before you know it. They're looking for you in advisory or whatever they call it on your campus. And time gets away from you because you done corralled a set of kids that you normally can't corral to get them tested or complete some documents, right? The other thing we're dealing with is CSOs and firearms. And I think I mentioned that to you guys. Also, the organization's responsibility on informing us on how that's supposed to play out. So no one really has an answer for me yet. They still don't even have an answer about the when we do our fingerprints and we do Department of Justice. We know that, you know, they're running it local to the city and maybe to the state of California. Most people don't know that they're randomly checking. So throughout the time, what I've been Green Dot 13, 14 years, they've been randomly checking. Or for CSOs, you know, they run into issues because they deal with bodily contact, pushing, grabbing, putting someone to the side, whether it be a kid or an adult. And some staff members forget where they are because their workplace used to be a bar, not a school campus. Or, you know, some place of some public place or public venue where they can carry a taser or spray or a baton. And then you get funny rules that you can't do that. You can't have it on a campus or you can't use it with students or, you know, if you carry on your person, on your belt. But I want Green Dot to be very clear about what we're going to be telling the CSOs because I don't want them to have to either be punished or fired because they're doing their job. Like they got to maintain licenses and permits. Okay. And just because you're mad at one CSO doesn't mean, you know, you're going to play unfair with the rest. If we're going to notify everybody, we'll notify everybody. Everybody, you know, if you have a gun permit, then, you know, your firearm and your bullet should be separate. If they're in your car, okay? If you bring your stuff from your job because you just came from your job or going to your job, do I leave it at home? Can I leave it in my car? So they know what they're dealing with. But again, they still don't have a clear answer about that. And normally we end up bringing up issues that they have to research. Hold on for a second, guys. Go ahead and drink it.
I have a question.
Okay.
I may have asked this before, but I'm not sure if I got a clear answer.
Mhm.
Having a pocket knife that is legally, as long as it's under, I believe it's 3 inches.
3 inches.
Um, so if you have it like an exposed belt pocket clip or whatever, it's
Mhm.
not considered concealed because you can see it. But is that something that cannot be on the school campus
It really is. This for
by
office
an
staff?
adult?
By an adult? Are you talking about office staff member or
Yeah,
an adult period? Because I know the office
or
team
just any of our members.
said it just a work member.
Office staff and
Just
any
any
one of
say a
our
member.
members.
We're technically not supposed to have any type of weapon on the vicinity
Yeah,
where there are minors. So,
right.
like, and I'm being very cautious of my wording, right? So a stapler and a box cutter is a weapon, but they're considered office supply materials. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yeah.
we haven't had any issues, but it'll be the fact that we're talking about it, something all of a sudden starts happening, right?
Right.
I would say no. Even I think it's called a Leatherman. Those are normally, we ask the CSOs if they have those to keep those in their pocket, so it isn't taken off
Yeah,
their
like a
person.
multi-tool.
Yeah, because it still has some type
Yeah.
of scissor or small knife, screwdrivers on it, stuff like that, right? I'm gonna pull up something to share on the screen real quick. This document I have on screen, I'll send it to you guys for those that are on driving and on for you that cannot see it. And it's kind of like the welcome orientation and helping them understand that we fall under our local union, which is our school union, our state union, which is California, and then national, right? And including all of the job descriptions that fall in these areas. So our CSOs, our facilities people, office assistants, instructional aides, parent coordinators, and then the additional team members that now help the SOMs. And just reminding them, hey, like you have to know your contract. Do we expect them to know the whole thing? No. Even within our team, all of us don't know all 24 articles, but we're very familiar with the ones that are highly used. Like we know they're going to question time and time release for Asaya or myself, so that's Article 4. We know Article 11 deals with discipline. And you know, if you're questioning when you get paid and stuff like that, you need to understand Article 6. And if you question compensation and how that's laid out, you need to make sure that you know Article 14 pretty good. You know, like those are not expecting you to know the whole thing, just the ones that you know will be hot spots for you. Try and find those areas in the contract or the handbook. So, you know, HR stuff would be knowing when we get paid. That's on the 10th and the 15th. When do you process Workday? Each school does that different. Some make it where you have to approve it. Some SOMs type it all in. Some still use a clock-in machine, knowing your personal compensation and salary, when the increases are coming. Like, those are things we know of. It's not our job to know specifically for the individual. I should not know when George's, what his increase is, how it's being paid out. Like, that's specific to his SOM or his principal and him, or HR and him. Only reason I know is because they send me the whole list for the whole classified organization. That information is considered personal, and I keep it locked regularly. I don't share that information unless I have to with the individual, but I try to really put it back on them and their SOM, or them and the HR peoples. That way it's personal for them. Knowing when they first get hired, do they have a probationary period? We do at Green Dot. You have a 90-day to, some don't even make it past 90 days. Some people have not made it past 90 days. It used to be a year, but they dropped it down because sometimes it just isn't the right fit. Have some played with that and taken advantage of the fact that an employee only has 90 days? Yes. But sometimes you know what's best for your campus and your coworkers, and you're just like, that isn't working best for me. Hold on for a second.
Does anyone have questions at all about what Mrs. Lopez is talking about? You could put them in the chat if you don't want to come off mute.
Now, I don't have any question about what she's saying, but I do got some concerns that I want to bring to attention, at least dealing with my campus.
Okay.
Yeah, so I noticed we have a high volume of temporary staff, and they're, don't be Anthony right now, be professional. What's a nice word for saying they ain't doing what they supposed to do, and it's causing a lot of heat on us that are permanent employees, and we're being, to a degree, kind of harassed. So that's
Anthony,
what I want to talk
can I
about.
ask, these temporary employees, they're contractors, correct?
Yeah.
And the position that you're speaking of is security?
No, I'm speaking about classified employees that are in the classrooms, and not so much the ones that are in the office.
And they're contracted?
Yeah, they're through not Schools First. That's my bank.
Scoot or cross country?
Yeah, cross country, and the other ones. Actually, I know the other one because I'm employed by one of the other ones too.
Okay.
But yeah, there's just some things, like I know I heard her mentioning about the time, and it's just a bunch of that at least on our campus, I say it ain't. It's maybe out of the 8 of us that are 12 of us that are less, it's probably 4 of us permanent employees that ain't really don't have nothing to do with that, and they're kind of being a-hole-ish about it, and it's not sitting right with me, and yeah. So
yeah, well, if it's not sitting right with you, there's probably other people that probably
Yeah.
will more than likely have issues with it.
Yeah, but I'm the only one that's gonna say something. That'll say something. If somebody go, oh no, we fine. Like, nah,
Got
you
it.
guys been airing it out to me, and now that you know, and I'm speaking on mine, and I'm standing on my own 10 toes. But now they ask you, y'all don't want to say nothing. So it's just a bunch of awkwardness and people afraid of their jobs and stuff. I don't know. I just don't want. Like, nah, it's like F that, because I don't want. After a while, I gotta be the human in me and say, you know what, I don't want to hear what you got to say. If you're not about to step up, you know, I don't care say a rep or nothing. Y'all, it's the human rights in it, in which you guys are not understanding that there's ways they expect us to be professional, and we have the right to expect the same thing. And
should, yes.
Alexa, off. And we're just not. It's like every time we get closer to finding the middle ground, something comes in and it's like, nah, you know what? Let's F this up. And let's not have this. Let's not have it look like a school campus. Let's look like it's romper room and we not here for each other, and just screw these kids. And I myself, I mean, I'm working on my exit strategy, but until then, like, let it be cool. Let it be something for the next person to come in. Because to me, it looked like we about to be phased out, and they trying everything they can to make it look like they trying to get rid of folks. They not trying to get rid of folks. It's on us.
I know on the larger campuses, and just I would say any employee hired before 2015, because there's been many regimes in Green Dot, and as in leadership, as a CEO, we've had 3 leaders, right? We still have, so we've had who we call emeritus and the founder, Steve Barr. Then we have Petruzzi. Petruzzi put it in Chad Saleo's hands for a little bit. That's when we birthed National, and Christina De Jesus, who's been active for some time. In those times behind the scenes, there's been at least double or triple the change in HR and human capital, and who's leading the inside of hiring, firing, rules that are standing rules. What's the standard of how we interact with one another? And so we went from mom and pop shop, where everybody did everything, all hands on deck. We add Henry Clay and Locke to the scenario, and that just blows the whole school numbers up in employees, because it just takes many employees to run those 2 campuses, right?
Yeah.
Hence, when that happened, we brought in a certain compensation that made anyone an older employee make less than Henry Clay employees or Locke. We had to come to some type of agreement where we at least kind of made it even, and to bring them up to at least minimum wage. And at that time, minimum wage was just $14, $15. We made it fair for them. We get them all the way up. Now they pushed the minimum wage to be complete by 2020, at everyone making $20 an hour. So if you don't really understand federal and state guidelines, that doesn't mean everyone's making $20 an hour. That's not what that rule or guideline said. It said everyone will be able to make minimum wage or at least $20 by, and they gave a year deadline. If you work a job that has tips, you make a minimum fee, and then your tips that can equal up to $20. If you do any type of SEIU service, so like home help support services, their minimum wage, I think, is like $13, $14, because that's still the federal law for minimum wage in that job arena. So of course we get those that are like My friend works at LAUSD or they work at Long Beach Unified and they make this. And I'm like, okay, has your friend shared that they don't get 40 hours guaranteed? That they're working minimum 3.5, 4 hours, 4.5, 5 hours. And so their job description. So if I worked at LA Unified as a security guard, I'm hired for 2.5 hours in the morning, lunch supervision an hour, 2.5 hours in the afternoon. Our CSOs are 8-hour employees. So a little less on the hourly, but guaranteed your 40 hours.
Right.
So that's something I have to always bring up, and people think I'm playing on words. I'm not playing on words. It's just, you have to understand what you got hired for. When we got hired, it was still paper. So they printed out my contract and it said my name, my job description, what school site I was on, how many hours I was allocated. Since then, we gotten tech savvy. They do an online document with the people. And I don't know if all the younger people are newly hired employees are reading. Reading is still fundamental. And if you're not reading your contract to see how you're getting hired or how you're supposed to be using your time, then unfortunately, that's not boohoo on us as a SAIA or the union. As an adult, when you get hired or do anything, you should be reading documents. Unfortunately, everyone isn't doing that. Some people might think that I'm too direct or cold in that area, but once you gotten over the threshold of 21 and 25, you should know that you should be reading documents that has anything to do with your payroll, anything getting hired, any kind of medical stuff that's going to cover you, if those things are valued and important to you. Because then the document that I have on screen is where they start messing with employees, unsatisfactory work performance. Well, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. How you not know what you were supposed to do? And if you didn't know, why haven't you asked your supervisor or your principal? Hey, I got hired for this capacity. What all are you expecting me to do? What would you like me to do? Because we'll find ourselves doing more what we want to do that we think is helping the campus, and it isn't what they're going to do the observation on, and then you get bad scores, right? Okay, then we get to what they considered dishonesty in many areas, and that can be in, did you get hired with a falsified resume? Did you lie to them during the process of hiring? Did you lie about how you've been putting your hours in Workday or not in Workday, or playing the system and making your SOM make the corrections? Like, I could tell you all the game people running, and it still gets exposed. Like, I hear what you're saying, but either your butt's going to be exposed or your leader's butt's going to be exposed. And I don't think they're going to cover for you. They might come to you and have a conversation, but that's only going to last for so long. And then finally they're going to, you'll get a warning, or, hey, from this point on, I need you to start clocking in, or they'll lock it to where you have to clock in. Or, some people have ran the game so long, and then their SOMs got tired of because the SOMs answer to a leader too, a financial leader from home office. And those employees give them an audit report. And if those reports aren't right, they kind of get put in a little walk of shame amongst their peers about data not being done in a timely manner or on time. So I'm gonna slide this down a little bit more, give you guys time to kind of read through the items that they're actually getting our employees on. Give you about 2 minutes you might not take 2 minutes, but 2 minutes to kind of look through Article 11. And place some scenarios in your head of where people could lie or twist these things. You got your pen, bro? All right, you ready, okay? Stop. So I'm gonna start with Antonio, then V, Albron, then Dunaway, because Blakely's doing dual duty. Which one of these stood out to you? And what could possibly be used against an employee? Orozco, it's on you.
Sorry, I'm kind of a little lost, but from what I'm seeing on the ASEA orientation flyer, is that what we're looking at, correct? Can anyone
Do I
hear me?
have Article 11 up or do I have the orientation up? Okay, I'm sorry.
Orientation.
Let me see, stop. And then I'll go back and share again. That's my bad. Did it pop up?
It's coming up. There it is. Possession of any toxicant. Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Stop. Let me see.
Okay, so what was your question again? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That actually gives you guys a couple of minutes to look at. When we look at a couple of these items from Article 11, these are the things they're using in discipline against employees. Which one sticks out to you that you think could be used the most? And which ones do you think can be misinterpreted?
Failure to comply with job duties. It's so broad.
It's very broad.
And then the unprofessional conduct as well. That one's very broad too, because, for example, like there's like, you remember Ramadan, right? And Ramadan's a hugger, just like I am. To us, when we hug, it's fine because we both came to that agreement. But outsiders looking in are going to be like, why are they doing that? And it's going to make them uncomfortable.
Right. And we want to try and refrain from using names.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. So which two did you choose again? I'm trying to follow you.
I chose unprofessional conduct and failure to comply with job duties.
Yeah, especially for paraprofessionals. People try to treat us like maids or the help. Can you go get my copies? Can you go get my coffee? And normally when we've done those things, it's because out of common courtesy, not because that's what's in our job description and our duties, right?
Right. And sometimes like I can tell when certain teachers take advantage of it. I don't mind doing it every once in a while, but then it comes to the point where like sometimes they start thinking it's expected of you to do it. And then it becomes an issue when you just did it out of your kindness of your heart.
So in that scenario, Ms. V, in your capacity now as not as the CSO, as the paraprofessional, say you're walking the testing, they ask you the other teacher asks you to pick up copies and their coffee from the break room. How would you handle it?
Coffee's fine. Coffee, that's
Yeah, personal, right?
yeah. I guess it just kind of depends on who it is that's asking me. I know that there's a teacher now, it seems like she's getting in the habit of having me pick up copies for her. Because initially it's like what Orozco said, like it's not a big deal. It's not a problem until it's a problem.
Right.
Seems like it's becoming what's expected. And then when you finally want to say something, that's when it's an issue.
Right. And I mean, and at any given time, from the first time or the 99th time, you can say something, right? But even you guys as site reps, so what would you say?
What would I say?
It does depend on the person and personality, but you know, there is something we still should say.
And if I get along with the person, I'd probably say something to the effect of, is there a coffee waiting down there for me too? Just as
Okay.
a joke, because I
Right.
come in.
I lost your voice.
Is it back?
I got you.
I know it's also easy for people to take offense to that, depending on who you're speaking with.
Mhm.
They may not act funny, but I'm also telling them, like, I'm grabbing your coffee. I want to make that clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, I mean, and there really is no wrong or right way to do it, but you have to do it within whatever level of comfortability that you are at. Like you said, depending on who it is, how long you've been working with them. Do you jokingly mention, you know, John, you always got me picking your copies and your coffee up. When is this gonna stop? You know, that's one conversation, but it just turns into so many different things. If someone around didn't like that I said that to them, they can report that. And they feel like that I'm being disrespectful or that, you know, I'm harassing someone. It just looks like I'm always badgering them. But definitely it's a conversation to pull to the side or either via email. Hey, I noticed that when we don't normally interact, you ask or request for me to pick up your copies and your coffee at least 3 times out of the week. I want to make sure that I'm available for the students and, you know, the scholars in the environment by getting to my next class on time. You know, I appreciate it if there's things you want me to pick up within a timely manner. If I can, I will. Other than that, please make time for that within your schedule, right? Everyone isn't necessarily going to approach it that way, but I have to think, for me, I have to think of all the niceties and all the different ways to come at people or how to interact with people, because people are forgetting how to interact with one another. Green Dot asks us to have relationships and build relationships. But at some point, it started blurring lines, because if I've worked with you for 15, 20 years, there's a level of friendship and family that you assume is there. And so you interact that way like you do with your regular family and friends. And before you know it, you've been across the line and something, you'll be sitting in an investigation. You're like, what am I getting investigated for? Oh, well, so-and-so said, you said something, it made them uncomfortable. Or this interaction with the scholar and someone didn't like the way you did this. And you're like, whoa, like, I've been handling business like this the whole time. That's what you're thinking. Or I've done this for so long. That's what you're thinking. And then all of a sudden it's questioned. And we as the paraprofessional get, a lot of teachers don't understand how to use us, when to use us. And so some of it is we have to do our due diligence in showing them how professional we are. We have to have the same amount of education, if not more, than the teachers. Teachers that teach single subject items are, you know, they do everything just in that single subject. Because we're special education, we do everything, every subject in K through 12. So it's extra duties, extra due diligence, breaking down data, information, access. And we're doing this in our head on the fly with an emotional child and the rest of the classroom and a teacher. Whether it be a teacher that is very inclusive or a teacher that is teacher-led. Violating any safety and health security issues or rules or procedures are engaging that put you at risk is one of the things that I've been concerned about lately, just because the level of anxiety that the children are under is what our normal SPED kids deal with regularly. So now it's double for our SPED kids, plus the regular general ed population, and us as a staff feeling the same anxiety. Just like we watching them and keeping our head on the swivel about how we're talking physical interactions, the kids are doing the same thing with us. They don't know where we're coming from. You know, they're real skittish in class when we get really close to them. Some have dropped their guards down about the mask and corona, but still you can see the edginess on them. Our young men are even more edgy or more aggressive. And that doesn't mean that girls aren't doing it too, but it's there. And so before we could see it and get to it and kind of fill it out, but we're feeling it because we're in it also. We have our own personal anxieties and issues going on. Then we come to work and have to be worried about the kids with their germs and not being clean and their attitudes. And I've always, my rule of thumb is kids that are very shy and scary, we should fear them first. Because when they react, it's, you know, with a level of, they feel someone's gonna hurt them, but they feel that way all the time. So it's super, super intense. And with the emotionally disturbed kids, they're on edge like that all the time. At any given time, something can be picked up and thrown, or they use their body against you, or, you know, just too many things that could put you in danger. I really need you guys to kind of like keep your eyes on the swivel, okay? Whether it be their backpack, their ID card, them flinching at you, you know, you carrying your own stuff, they make you fall. I need you guys to really be conscious and cognizant of that. It can work in your favor, but can also work against you. So I have one scenario where a student went across on the opposite side of the campus with the wrong color pass. In Spanish slang, they say for a whooping, it's like a pow pow. And so someone used the word pow pow, not really understanding what they were saying to the student. Like, I should take that clipboard and pow pow you. Now there's an investigation saying that an adult was trying to abuse a child and with intentional purposes. Some of you got to take it with a grain of salt. What's the relationship between the two people? Was there a joke in the air? Was there bad blood on that particular day? And so now all of a sudden it's being reported. Just too many things around that scenario, but they believe the students first and put our people on paid leave second. So it's just like, okay, we got a report. We're going to put you on paid leave until this investigation is concluded. And you're not to speak to any employees, try not to talk to any scholars, turn in your keys, you get escorted off of campus. And so it can be really ugly and uncomfortable over something small. So I shouldn't have to work with Green Dot in this area, but Samantha Montemotos is willing to work with me in this area. I'm like, we have to get back to some professional development that talks about how we're supposed to interact professionally with one another. Okay. I'm gonna slide down a little more on this document. See. Failure to comply with job duties absences without leave, repeated tardiness, or abuse of leave privileges. All of those can fall under being unprofessional because classified has 45 minutes before their shift to report if they're going to be tardy or absent. You know, good rule of thumb is an hour before, or 24 hours before, if you can let them know. But you know, life happens, real life happens, and sometimes you can't notify them until after your shift then started. 2 hours after your shift then started, you're on the freeway, your tire blow out. How are you gonna get to them? So that's something to think about. And sometimes just start asking questions of your coworkers, like ask them scenarios. Like, if you know, hey, if you were running late, how would you contact the office? Because you'll find out everyone doesn't understand the same thing, even though you think you're being told the same thing. Everybody's comprehension level about it is different. So some people have been with the organization, they're like, oh, I text so-and-so, so I should be good. I'm like, but what's your policy on campus? I don't know what our policy on campus is. I text them now. Okay. The policy on campus that's set up is what really you should be following. Even if you do text them, follow it up with email. Text them, follow it up with an email, call the main office, leave a message. You know, depending on what you got set up. I would say email regardless of any way you try to communicate with them. That way there's a paper trail. I want to charge it to their heads and not their hearts, because sometimes they just got so much going on. They'll forget. And we're like, well, you didn't even show up on such and such day. Like, and then you're like, remember, I asked you, could I take off early in the morning? Oh, okay. But it's already too late. That's already logged in their mind or communicated to your SOM that you didn't communicate you were coming in that morning, or you were going to be 2 hours late that morning, or that your tire popped. So some of those things too.
The other thing, really quick,
Mhm.
just to jump on that one. Send this message to multiple people.
Yeah, not just one.
Like I directly answered to my SOM, Wendy. Unfortunately today she called in herself.
Mhm.
So say you communicate with Wendy, but Wendy's not in, you know. So you should like communicate it to multiple people. That way, everyone's like in the know, in the loop,
Mhm.
and no one's like surprised or like, where's so and so? Are they coming in late? Are they coming at all? So if more people on campus know, the better.
The better. My personal rule of thumb is I always email my SOM. I do it in this order: SOM, principal, AP, because the AP is she's my supervisor for observation. So whoever your observer is. So I do my SOM, she does payroll, my principal, so she knows, and my SPED lead person. And depending on how your office email is set up, it has something where it says optional and required. So I list them as the required people, and then optional, my teachers that I cover, or the people that I work with on campus. So they're, you know, because they're dependent on us being there too. Anticipating, you know, if it's a teacher in the classroom, they probably made a plan including you. And then depending on your campus, you know, some of us have a bigger honeypot than others. And so we can kind of, our staff and our teams allow us more freedom. And so we don't have to do as much, but still, as a rule of thumb, we still notify our principal, our SOM, and whatever teacher we're covering that particular day. Office staff, you know, that's your SOM, your PC if you the OA, and your OA if you the PC, and an AP, you know. So whoever the lead CSO is, if there's one on campus, because they normally work together in opening the schools and getting alarms off and stuff like that. So just communicating really well in that area, it makes a big difference, because then it stops people from being able to do their job. It does. 1 or 2 times is one thing, but we do have some employees that are repeat offenders, and you find yourself always in a jam or covering for them, and you're like, dang, I need to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So something to think about. Drink some water, please. I want you to drink that. Batman's not on yet. Okay. See, this the real life stuff people don't be expecting. Signing materials, that's the other thing. Like, a lot of people, oh, I didn't sign the document. I'm like, okay, you have the right not to, but it's just, what were they saying when you gave the document? Did they say, this just says you're in receipt of the document? You're acknowledging that we had this meeting, or is this saying that you are admitting that you've done whatever they're saying allegedly you've done? Which is why important that you read these documents or pay attention to the stuff they're sending you in an email, because this one talks about discipline without progression. Green Dot shall utilize progressive discipline for regular unit members. However, nothing in this provision shall prohibit them from dismissing a regular unit member from employment on the first offense, depending on how serious it is, right? And so I've had some individuals like, this is my first time getting in trouble. And I'm like, I understand it's levels to this ish. And like, this is one of the things that's non-negotiable. So like, we need outside counsel. So scenarios like that is male or female employees with students, a firearm on the campus, on your body, you assaulting a kid assaulting you. Like, then we get into like, they don't care if it's the first offense or not. You're possibly going to be suspended or fired, terminated, where you willfully resign. There's different ways they can do it, but just things I want people to be cognizant of. Suspensions and dismissals. When we go to the bargaining table, this is one thing that Michael and I are going to be revisiting, because it contradicts itself within itself. So if my supervisor has a conversation with me, they say send me an email later saying this is a letter of memorandum and we're going to place it in your file, then you discipline me because you put it in my file. This first line says the opposite. Conference of memoranda or letters of reprimand do not constitute disciplinary action. So we gotta figure out this language here. That won't count against the number of things that we want to have done in bargaining, but this is one thing we're visiting already. Compensation always goes to the table. Benefits always goes to the table. But if there's things that you guys think we need to be taking to the table, or thoughts, ideas, we need to be discussing them. Any off the top of the head?
I know Orozco had his hand up. I know that.
Okay.
I think it's more like being protected by like from faults. It's tough because like I'm dealing in this situation where the feedback I'm giving to the teachers isn't taken into account, and sometimes it kind of gets in the way of what I need to do. Like I've had a teacher kind of tell me to like back away and limit the amount of interactions I have with my student. I don't know if there's anything that maybe we could talk about as far as like making it so that where teachers are held accountable for the way they interact with classified staff in particular. And I feel like that would kind of cover also some of the other like situations that we come across where we're put into situations where we need to talk or we need to do things that it's not in our job description.
So that one gets kind of tricky because, like, remember I was saying there's our duties as a rep versus being the employee. So are you talking about, is there a violation of the contract? Or do you feel that they're violating you as a human being and a coworker? Because then we want to, if that's the case, we want to do it on the campus and try and do it with one another. If you and I are not seeing eye to eye, bring in an extra party if we need someone to help us see both sides. And then, you know, supervisors or principals get involved. Now, I've had some as petty as the fact of they don't speak to me when I come on campus. What? You think Green Dot hired me to greet and speak to everyone? That's not why they hired me. I got hired to do this job. If I happen to get along with my coworkers better than being cordial, that's cherries on top, right?
Got it.
Do we have a lot of he say, she say on campuses like kids amongst the adults? Yes, we do. And then that's where we have to use our problem solving skills. And this is not as a rep, this is just as Latonia as a human being, V as a human being. I need to tell you how I want to be treated. Or I need to, maybe you never told them how you wanted to be treated. And so there's an assumption. Go ahead, George.
Really quick, Antonio. This is for you, or even if you notice someone else, you know, and you're uncomfortable with whatever treatment or things are being said or told, document everything. At the point of when it happened, date, time, document as much as possible, because that's only going to help your situation into making it better for you and others around you.
Come here.
So that's just my suggestion.
I see. Thank you. Thank you. Kind of going back to the topic, I wanted to just kind of, the reason why I brought it up too was to see if that was something that, like, if other IAs or other classified staff has shared with us any like mistreatment with when it comes to the teachers, and if
Yes.
that's something that and if that's something that we're protected, like if there's anything that we could bring into the table that we could talk about, like as far as getting the teachers or having the teachers get trained, or at least have some kind of like required time for teachers that have aides to have time to collaborate.
And that varies from campus to campus. So any campus I've been on, it's my natural personality. I'm gonna be wherever the business is. But that's me as an individual. That isn't, I have paraprofessionals, they don't want to go to PD days. For me, I feel it's my due diligence to go to professional development, because when they start implementing, like Read 180 is not the same anymore. They're changing it. They're in the midst of changing it. And so when it hits the classroom, I would like to have a heads up on how it's being implemented. I'm in the classroom with the teachers that are, when they do their planning time, I'm in there. Not necessarily all the time. My counterpart, Miss Blakely, same thing. You know, she's in the trenches with her teacher, so she knows what she can give the kids in the best services. But when I get to my Locke and Henry Clay campus, that's a little different. That's a different monster. It's a different beast. The classrooms are set up totally different. Like technically, it should be illegal to separate special education classes in location. But you go to certain campuses, all the SPED classes are in one area, or on one floor, or in one corner, and they're not supposed to be identified. But does every employee know that? No. Does every teacher know that? No. They get maybe a section of special education training when they go into their teacher's credential, unless they're sped specific. And then some of the stuff George and I are mentioning is these aren't violations of the contracts. These are just violations of people's human rights. Being courtesy, having some courtesy, common courtesy for employees and your coworkers. We're in a time where people are just very selfish. And if you don't remind them what you want for you, they will abuse it. They will step over it. And resort to doing things where you're left being uncomfortable. Now, I haven't had instances where I needed to practice release and it wasn't fast enough for the teacher. And so they brought it to my attention, like, Ms. Lopez, I need you to release a little faster, or, let them productive struggle a little bit longer before you come in, say, because what it appears to them is we're coming in to save the day, even though we're coming in to scaffold and give another strategy for them to stand on to access the information that they're dealing with in the classroom, right? Because we're supposed to help them access the general education system with our skills and tricks and tips, accommodating and modifying off the top of our head. Like, we know how to do that. Everyone doesn't necessarily know we know how to do that and how quickly we can do it, because they done sat there and did a whole lesson plan over the weekend, and we walk in here, look at the goal on the board, the teacher started talking, you look at the directions on the paper, bam, 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 all in your head, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I need to do this. I'm gonna separate these kids over here, they strung over here. Like, we just know how to do that in our brain. The office staff knows how to read the crazy parent coming in, or the kid that's, you see the kid rushing through the crowd, like, okay, it's gonna be some shit. Wait a minute. I see how many kids? 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, bam. Okay, when the last one come in, close the office. Can you pull that shade for me? And we catch them off guard because we already get game planning, right? Those things aren't violations of the contract. Those are just that we have really good people skills, or that we have good customer service skills, or that we actually like our community and the kids and parents, and we care. And so we're doing that extra. And we're birthed in a generation where we needed to learn how to do all of that, not just scroll on the phone, right? Theory meets emotion. I got to be able to respond when Hood Mama is yelling and screaming, or when she cussing out my coworker. I might not like my coworker, but you can't cuss them out. Yes.
I believe Anthony had his hand up earlier.
Okay.
No? Okay, never mind. Question, are we talking about conferences today?
Yes. I got feedback directly to me via text message. So 3 people are interested. They only really need 2 to 3. But it would be great if we could have 3 to 4, or if not the whole team. Like, it made a big impression with you guys coming to the CTA state council. It was like, that was your team? I was like, yeah. I was like, and that's not even reps for all of our schools. Just, I wanted them to come and see the process. You guys happened to be there when they were talking about the legislation. And normally Seth doesn't come into the end of the meeting. Like, it was perfect timing. Get it for me.
I haven't messaged you, but I'm available for both of both sessions and the issues conference as well.
Okay. So I was in the text, I was really specific about the leadership is 2 sessions, one in Los Angeles, one in Burlingame. And I know Dunaway does a lot of reffing. So for him to commit to that, I would prefer to bring him the materials down if he can't go. And the same with Miss Blakely. She's in the midst of school, so I would have to find out what her schedule is like. If she couldn't go, we would bring her the materials, right? But if
Sonia, as long as you let me know, I can, I can schedule my stuff around. But I know like with between December to like mid-February, like I'm kind of dead. I don't really do anything.
Okay.
So I can, if not, I can finagle and do what I got to do.
Got you. So it would really be and not saying I know V's schedule, but these are things that I know are the issues that people come up against: babysitting, taking time off, and the thing with the issues conference versus ESP training. ESP training has enough budget to pay for you guys to be released. So meaning you're not gonna you'll lose pay by clocking into Workday, but they're gonna pay Green Dot to make sure you're paid on your payroll. That makes sense? And I know a lot of people get, nervous. I'm taking time off. Is this free? I'm like, okay, it is perks. It's not perks the way most people are assuming that. People got this assumption that I'm just getting all this cash money to do this. Baby, no, it's not what they think it is.
Funny.
Yeah,
Nope.
Grandma's laughing because people think I'm rich and I'm over here, we just had a couple noodles, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just ate couple noodles,
You not like
people
cup of
they
noodles.
call at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're gonna
Uh-uh.
ask them? Okay.
You not like cup of noodles.
Couple noodles?
No.
No.
I that the
He said no.
telling me no.
He said no. So we gotta help the people.
Then no again.
No, don't like cup of noodles. But to commit to 2 separate sessions and they're not in the same area, it's different. So normally one team we got to rent a car and we drove up. Another team we flew. It was easier to fly in and carpool around the corner from the hotel to the Burlingame CTA office. Inundated with a lot of information. So you work hard. We really live by the motto, work hard, play hard.
So, and Antonio's asking a clarification of the workshops.
So for ESP leadership, it's already, there's a team specifically that trains them. You met Ben West. He actually will be a part of that team. And they set it up where they talk about leadership, leadership styles, and in between each session, they're throwing in different scenarios. Okay, how are we going to use this leadership style during bargaining? How would you use it when you have older employees? Because dependent on your demographic, like Green Dot has 20 schools, but all of our schools and employees are not the same. The people we'll be teamed up with, their regions are as large as Green Dot school. So like they'll have 20 high schools and in a rural area where the rules of school and governance is just totally different than Southern California. So you actually get to learn about, okay, what about when you have a lot of retirees, that were born and raised in one city? Everybody, mama, daddy, cousin, and sister was taught by this one person. So that comes with a different set of rules of thinking when you're bargaining for them. If you have people that live by a lot of wires, and so there's a lot of health issues or cancer that's popping up, you already know that the type of things you're bargaining for and the health benefits for them is going to look different, or you got to keep that in mind while thinking about those that are newly graduated. So employees that are in between 22 to 25, but say 75% of your staff is over 50. So are you going to bargain for a gym? No. We're looking for stuff for retirement and medical equipment, and do they get access after they leave the organization? And they start talking about stuff like that. And then they'll get on another session. How do you use your words to interact with people? Or how do you leverage issues on a campus to get the union to be known? So how we keep relevant is the CSOs stay having issues. So the CSOs know us well. They feel supported. Our office staff might not feel the same way because they don't get to see us all the time. Most of them work very closely with the leaders. They're nervous, they're scared, they won't share information, or they're embarrassed. So a lot of things to kind of contend with. I could send a copy of our last agenda for ESP leadership training. We normally arrive there on Friday, meet and greet Friday evening, full session all day Saturday, half a session Sunday morning. But when I say your brain is tired, but it's good tired. It's a good tired. It's a lot of good learning. And you're able to start showing your skills from other areas, thinking on your feet. They throw real life scenarios at us and call action, and it's you own. So you'll be with some people that have experience and they don't have experience. Some that just have the gift of organizing or writing, and it's so many things they get you to do, but they also get you to recognize who you are and the gifts that you naturally have, which is, for me, it's a pleasure for you guys to be a part of this team, because I've been watching. Like I choose people, even though they feel like they're choosing me. I'm like, I've been watching you anyway. I've been pursuing you anyway because I see this quality, or I want to graft this quality and add this to your arsenal.
Ms. Lopez.
Yes.
So for the ESP one, it's limited to how many people?
5 on the team. So if the team
And
wins
total?
for training, yes. But they're just getting back into swing since COVID. And so remember last time when we went, the more the merrier. They want to have a session of at least 20 to 25 people. And so if we brought our whole team and maybe one other team came, of course they're going to be happy because then we have their full attention. The spiral books that I gave you guys is one of the books that they issue out, and we use different things out of their scenarios, things we should be just in the know of. Does it get asked? Do you have to use it every year? No, you don't have to use it every year, but every now and then, somebody pops
Situational
up with a
things,
question. Yeah. Something to come up and it'll be helpful. Issues conferences in Vegas. It is Thursday through Sunday. Sessions are Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. Friday is the full registration when most of the people come in town. And then sessions are from 6 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. at night. Do you need to go to all of them?
Long days.
No. They don't ask that you go to all sessions, but whatever you're registered for, they do ask that you, step in the session. Especially if you're on a grant.
Get out.
That means they're paying for your room, your food,
Get out.
and your registration. If a say is paying for it, it's a little bit, I'm a little bit more lenient because then I'll be like, hey, let's look at the itinerary and space us properly. Things that you want to go that you're interested in, but that we can also bring back to the organization and help on our campuses and amongst each other.
Amongst our members, yeah.
Yeah. The largest one is the LACPA, and that's the finances for the state of California education. So it tells you where all money is being funneled. It's one of the longest sessions, but once you've gone to one, it's equivalent to our school SAC meeting. So they dump the money into state of California. California divvies it up between public school and charter school. Charter school drops it into each school so that they can use it according to the demographic and whatever the principal has set up. But once you start understanding the money and the funds, then you start understanding, okay, butts and seats equals our payroll. If there's no butts and seats, somebody about to lose a job or we're going to downsize. If there's not enough butts and seats to keep the school afloat,
Yep. Closing the school.
we're closing a school or a section of a school. So then you start like, okay, then you start seeing where line items tied to compensation. Where's the extra money they're keeping? Okay, we can ask for X amount of dollars for an increase. Or is this specific money marked for something and we have to wait? You start learning how to learn their lingo and their game and playing it backwards to them. Towards them.
So right now, not asking you for names, but how many people have shown interest in the ESP Leadership Academy?
4. That's including you.
Okay, and for the Issues Conference,
2.
that's also including me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So if it's 2, that'll be a lot of work.
But issues,
Yeah,
yeah, it is, because that's the biggest one.
right.
That's the biggest one for the state of California. Everyone comes from every area of California
Yeah.
to Vegas. And so there's a really large catalog for you to choose from, a class or session. Some as specific as paraprofessionals, security, SPED, some as wide and broad as bargaining for SPED rights, legal action, IEPs, and then when you get into specific union stuff, okay, organizing, how do we get our groups to organize and be seen as a unit? They have some specific to
Also, individuals, Latino caucus.
yeah,
Black
that's where I was
caucus.
going. The caucuses, yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
You know, the Latino caucus, African American caucus,
The Native American caucus,
Native
Peace
American,
caucus,
LGBTQ plus.
yes.
There's so many individualized groups that there's also something for them, and that can be brought back to our members. So it's very wide, it's very, but there is something for everyone, and there's value to a lot of the workshops that are brought to Issues Conference.
And then you start finding out also about other benefits, you know. There's not just our benefits that we receive from Green Dot, we receive benefits from CTA. And individualized, some for your family, rewards, coupons, discounts on rental cars, hotels, all the different types of credit unions, credit cards, a lot of things that can help individuals. And so my first time, I found out every benefit there possibly was. And that's how we started winning over employees. It was benefits that Green Dot didn't offer. We were able in our union meetings, we would bring a couple computers and help sign them up. I have there's 2 credit unions off of Century. I had them at every meeting giving away grocery store bags, gift cards, whatever they could. But they were signing up people into the credit union, and then they were able to get a free checking savings account, also, you know, refinance their car or purchase a car or get a uniform allowance or get a personal loan. And it was stuff that they couldn't do within their regular bank. So credit unions are about servicing the people, which is why it's really important that our members know that and get included in that. So if you're not a credit union member, find one, Westcom, schools first, education first, Northrop and Grumman. I don't care what kind of credit union. I mean, of course, we're an education credit union, and that comes with more extra perks because we work 10 months. You know, they have a lot of services specific to that. But any credit union, Navy, Federal, if somebody was in the service, if they lived on the East Coast, share as much as you can with people to get involved in credit unions. It's to their benefit. It really is to their benefit. So we know compensation for bargaining, we know benefits for bargaining, the change of language for bargaining. But I think this is the year for IAs and office staff. But if they don't say anything, I can't fight on something.
Yeah, we can't read minds.
Yeah. Like, because the issues that happen on campuses, I don't have.
Right.
I'm just,
Unless it's on your campus, yeah.
yeah.
And
I'm
sometimes
just
not even that.
honest. Yeah, sometimes it's on the campus. I just don't have those types of issues with people.
Right.
That doesn't mean that everybody likes me. And that is the furthest from the truth. Trust, people want my head. They don't want me being in this position. They don't even want me working for Green Dot. And that's okay. That's why we have a variety of reps, because if my style and how I talk and interact doesn't work for them, then they might need to see V. And I'm like, hey V, I need you to come out for such and such, you know. I'll be in the shadow if you want me to support you, or I can be on the phone and support you. But, you know, I'm not the person they want. Sometimes they want Jamila, you know. It's prior to that, when Jonte was, they wanted a male. It depends on what they need, what they want, what makes them comfortable. When my old team with George, Miss Flores, and I was VP. I wasn't even the president. Like, we really played good cop, bad cop, and we took advantage of the fact that, you know, hey, they don't want to talk to me, and I'm gonna keep playing that card so they can spill their guts to you, so they can get the proper services and get represented properly.
Right.
And no offense, I don't take it personal at all. At all. I don't take it personal at all. I just love helping people in need. I like helping the underdog. I don't like when people break the rules or try to use the rules, but that's on both sides. I don't like that on both sides.
Yeah.
To a fault, because I can tell when they lying to me. And like, I can't really help you if you don't tell me the full truth.
What's going on? Yeah.
Because they're gonna come to the table and what you didn't tell me, they're gonna put it out, or a video gonna show up.
Yep.
So everyone will be on Thanksgiving break for a week.
Next week. Mm-hmm.
Tell your coworkers, it doesn't matter the position, remind people to set up their doctor's appointments, set up your dentist appointments, go get your eyes checked while you're on break. If they're a little stressed out, we have your medical service provider gives out up to 5 to 8 free sessions of therapy. And then we also have EAP program through the organization, and they give you 10 sessions. You know, no questions asked, till you find the right fit. And most people that have actually used the services said it made a big difference. They said it made a big difference, whether it was something super, super intense or just the fact that they had someone to talk to with no judgment, and it made them feel better. Yeah, so remind your coworkers and yourself, make your doctor's appointments, make your dentist appointments, make your eye appointments, eat good, but rest.
Mm-hmm.
We only got 1 week. Christmas, we can act a fool. All right. We can eat, drink, and be merry and go to the doctor and all that kind of stuff. But I think everybody's looking forward to this break right now. And it might, Thanksgiving gonna look different for a lot of people. So if you hear whispers from kids or even staff members that need food, canned goods, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
email our team or drop it in the text. We connected to some food places and food banks, clothing, shelters and stuff like that. And we can kind of get some stuff maneuvered for adults or kids.
For kids, yeah.
Be surprised. Sometimes people just give us a whole bunch of free turkey tickets, but it's after COVID. I don't know what that's going to look like this year.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen in the grocery stores where they say, okay, if you buy $50 worth of groceries, you get it. I haven't even seen that.
Yeah.
So that means it's going to be tight. And if it's tight for the grocery stores and that's making a little money, it's going to be tighter for the communities that we serve. And so if that means, we pull 5 cans from our own little stash and help them start something at work, then, that's the other bigger picture of the work that we're doing. I don't expect everybody to believe the same thing, but being grateful and extending out a helping hand doesn't hurt nobody. Nobody. If that means
Whatever your beliefs are,
yeah. If we as a team put together a couple of boxes, then that's what we do. If we put some grocery store cards in a couple of envelopes and just pass them out, then that's what we do. But ASEA helps in a lot of other areas outside of our members, being in trouble. We help them in other areas too. So if you got any thoughts, ideas, let me know. If you have a bigger thought for Christmas, let me know, because I normally leave early for Christmas. My anniversary and Christmas is kind of in the same realm. So that week, y'all at work, in the street somewhere or on a plane somewhere. And at this new 50 spotter, I'm doing it a little bit more often. Doing it a little bit more often.
I got it.
Oh, Antonio mentioned the toy drive.
Toy drive, Christmas. Okay, can I put that on UNV? Get
Yeah.
some information on, because Venice has something that goes on with, I think, the police department, but that could have been an individual doing that. I'm not sure if it was the school. That might
Okay.
have been an individual. And if that's the case, we come out and support on that end. Everything don't have to be in the South Central end.
Right.
It don't.
Yeah, even though it's Venice, there's also need over there.
Yeah.
Cheers.
How do I go about like starting something like that, like a project as like big as a toy drive?
On your campus, that's very particular. You have to be very particular. You want to make sure you don't step on any toes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, because you on the larger campuses, it gets a little political. Because they have to have permits to house certain things, permits to be open during certain periods of time. If not, because you're on a LAUSD property, we get fined. Or they charge us to open on that day that we didn't buy for the year.
I see. Because I remember last year, I don't know who ran it, but they had a small toy drive with a Santa Claus giving out toys. And I think it'd be great to do that for our SPED kids again. I just don't know who ran it or any of the logistics of running a toy drive.
I would say that's Miss Arlene or Campos, because nothing happens on that campus without them knowing.
Okay, I'll reach out to them.
And regardless of their tone and response, just ask them first, because they're very sensitive about being there first and being one of the older employees for that campus. We have to be sensitive to those that have just been doing work and they feel like they're not recognized. Okay, so ask them, hey, who ran it last year? Trying to get some information. ASEA wants to help get a Santa or do some stuff on the campus. They might answer you quickly, they might answer you slowly, and if not, then just get with your SPED lead, Valerie Chavez or Christina Dudelau. Because then maybe we can do something green dot wide for sped.
Got it. Okay.
And then we jump on it that way. And if not, then we choose a school, and I'm tell me if I'm being too pushy, but I'm really trying to push doing something at Venice. It gives us a chance to go and visit there. We haven't done a lot of stuff with them in years. And it gets our people to go and visit another campus.
Right.
It
I
No,
can-
you're
see,
not being too
okay.
pushy. I can look into it.
Okay. And then, so I'm actually gonna put all three of you, so V, Alberon, and Orozco on that task. Whether it be a toy drive, or we're just doing food, or gentle used jackets, socks for the homeless. Like, there's stuff we can do.
Yeah.
There's stuff we
Got
can do.
Okay.
We all
You
spend
can make-
$10 at the dollar store and get socks, intimate stuff, personal toothpaste, toothbrush, stuff like that, and stuffing and stuff, and give it to people. There's things we can do.
Yeah. We could do peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Very
Yeah.
simple.
There's stuff that,
Yeah.
we can really do. And like if I just text Jeremy, he'll have a whole set of teachers in now. So now it's classified and the teachers doing it together.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are no shortage of people in need on Lincoln. B.
No, there is not. Yeah. We can help people that's on the block, whether they're at the shopping center across the street, the one on the corner, there's stuff we can do. So that sounds good. I'll make sure I save this. I'm gonna stop recording.
It's wet.
It's ripped.
Yeah. A bubble wrap is this, but